We are doing 9-7 today. This is the last of the content before test. You ain't had a test in a minute, have you? Probably Wednesday. I think y'all are doing ACP stuff on Tuesday. That's what I'm hearing. So the first 3 slides are all old things. This is from chapter 3. Solve the system below using the elimination method. That's where you multiply one or both equations by some number, and you either add or subtract and something disappears. Where are your notes? Yeah. So we get out of pencil instead of lining up a piece of paper. I can always just threaten detention every single day. Well, I'm talking. Anyways, what's something you'd like to multiply by? Think about that. Multiply an equation by numbers that you can add or subtract and something disappears. I'm going to take your 4 and I'm going to raise it to a -4. Why would I raise it to a -4? So I can add.
Mr. Milbrath?
Yes, ma'am.
Could you please send Cameron and Slick to the office for a moment?
Sure.
Thank you.
The reason I'd use a -4 is because kids have more luck adding than they do subtracting. I know some kids just never get this. I put this on probably 5 or 6 basics quizzes in a row. I don't think I ever got more than 50% of y'all able to do this. It's pretty bad. You just act like you didn't know what to do. It was the same question 3 times in a row. Still couldn't get over half the right answer. Blew my mind. Anyways, that was the elimination technique. If you add down, what disappears? Y's. Leaving you with nothing but a string of X's. How many X's are there? -10 of them. You might be telling me the answer, Chris. -48, -2, what do they add to? -50. What's your X value? 5. Don't you not have a pencil or pen either? Every one of y'all would have gotten 3 licks on the ass with paddle when I was a kid for that crap. Every one of you, right there in the middle class. 1, 2, 3. You kept doing it, but you got harder and harder and harder. You know, everybody's afraid of getting sued now. You gotta have like 3 witnesses and sign papers. Crazy. That takes a paddle kid now. You have the X value, how do you get the Y value? Plug it in. Anybody from my generation, you ask them, you got hit for little things like that. What'd you learn how to do? Of course you can use the top one. Use whichever one you want, can't you? You get the same thing. That one just didn't have anything attached to it. Anyways, 6 5s makes a 30. What are you gonna do with the 30? Subtract it. That'll give you a -32. Your generation will bring back paddling. You will. What's -32 over -8? 4. Because apparently some Karens in my generation thought it did more harm than good. Ordered pair, 5 4. That's it. You always write solutions to systems as ordered pairs. Also something from chapter 3, that's substitution method. I'm actually going to skip over it, because y'all really don't seem to care to do this. And we'll do that one, chapter 3. You want to do that one by hand? You remember doing it by hand? There's a challenge. It would take every bit of this screen and another one to do by hand. Go through the elimination method. How many times? Twice. That's right. It takes a while by hand. How else could you do it? Put in a matrix. Put in a matrix. One of the reasons you should have a TI-84 out. What you do is you write what's called an augmented matrix. What would the coefficients of that augmented matrix be for the first row? It was one on your benchmark where all you had to do was write an augmented matrix. That was it. I gave you a hint as to how to write equations, and you just had to write an augmented matrix. Biggest mistakes kids make on these are typos. Plain and simple, it's typos. This is it. You see it all the time in dual enrollment class and pre-calc classes when we use matrices. Probably 10 to 20% of students miss a question on matrices because of a typo. That's it, typos. Now, how do you get to that in a calculator? Second, matrix. Edit. For some of you slackers in here, I've had a couple of transfer kids come in recently. They don't know much math, and I'm not knocking them. But every time I pull out a calculator, it takes them one time to figure out how to use it. Versus some of y'all have been in my room for going on, I don't know how many months now, ain't yet picked up the calculator. Boy, that's annoying. It's a 3x4, 3 rows, 4 columns. Push the buttons on in. I don't know if any of y'all still had this in there. The last class was supposed to clear it out. Hopefully I remember to tell y'all to do that. The reason I had them cleared out is because I know full well some kids have yet to do this. Easy thing you can do. I'm pretty sure you'll do this technique no matter what math class you take next year. In bridge math, they solve systems and matrices. Should have that. Make sure you don't have any typos. Section. Scroll down. Scroll down. Change you go 3x4. Creed, what would you do if Jillian didn't sit in front of you? I will mention it. Sure. I'll experiment on that. Creed, were you able to get that all typed in? No, I'm edited for you.
You get a
Center.
and so do 4 and the others.
You get it typed in? Oh. Second, matrix, edit, enter, 3, enter, 4, enter. Good thing I skipped an example. Now what do you do? Move out quick. Second quit. Now what? Second matrix. Scroll to math. Why is mine in C? Interesting. Scroll to math. 2 below comes some. Remember, that's why I said it that way. 2 below comes some. Not 1 under, 2 below. You know what comes sum stands for? Cumulative summation. So that was, we quit, second quit, we get second matrix, went to math, 2 below comes sum. Finds double REF, reduced row echelon form. Press enter. Now, for some reason, I put mine in matrix C. You'll go to second matrix. You guys will choose A. Wherever you see 3x4, right? Mine, for some reason, is in C. So I'm going to choose C and press enter. But if yours says A 3x4, you're going to choose A and press enter. You should have that, since yours says A. And then you press enter. You get some ugly looking decimals. How do you make those other little decimals look pretty? Answer correct, that's right. Click the math key, highlighted, enter, enter. There is your ordered triple. That right there is X, Y, and Z, kids. Those of you who get to do this. Knowing how to use a matrix will probably get you at least one question right on your EOC. May not seem like much to you, but it is. By the way, Micah, who probably took the longest to do that benchmark, ended up with the highest score, 96%. All of you cheated. Every single one of you cheated.
Actually,
You had a hint sheet, didn't you?
oh, yeah.
You're gonna throw stones?
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know if I use that.
All you have to do is read it and then do what he
All you had to
said.
do was read the thing and do what it said, yes. That was it. Should be ashamed you missed one.
Yeah, you really shouldn't like
Anyways, that's it from chapter 3. This is what you're doing today.
it. There.
Can't use matrices. Matrices only work for things that are linear, things that have an exponent of 1. You can't use this with matrices. There's 2 ways you can do it. You can do it by hand, you can do it by graphing. We're going to do the first one by graphing, which means you're going to want to press what button on the calculator. But it's too early for that. Why is it too early to press y equals?
Because that ain't on there.
You can't put in the second thing, right?
You can't put either one of those equations into y equals. You have to solve for y. It literally has to be y equals to use y equals. Now, I would do this one first. That one's easy. How do you solve that one for y? Move y left. That's what we'll put in y1. y1 is 2x plus 3. That one's easy. Top one, take a little work. Not that bad. In Tennessee, 25% of the student body could solve that equation for y. At least that's what the EOCs say. I would try to isolate y squared. What's 2 easy things you can do to isolate y squared? I notice a lot of y'all still do algebra like you're stuck in 7th and 8th grade. You'll literally say minus x squared underneath and you'll say plus 4 underneath. That's why you still haven't gotten any good at it. You're still doing that stuff. You just move things around, what happens to signs? Change. Nothing more than that. You're still stuck in where they were trying to teach a concept to you. But if you move the 4 over, she's positive. If you move the x squared over, she's negative. You can't move the 8 over.
Divide by 8.
Divide by 8 you can do. In square root. So this is what you get when you divide by 8. You get y squared is 4 minus x squared all over 8. I wouldn't do a single thing to that. What's the opposite of squaring? Square rooting. How many answers is it going to have? 2, that's right. One of them's going to be positive, and one of them's going to be negative. So in y2, I'm going to put the positive root, and in y3, I'm going to put the negative root. Sadly, a TI-84 can't do all of these. Like it can't do the next one in your notes. It doesn't have enough pixels to draw it properly. It can do this one. Even a graphing calculator can't do all of them. The mistake y'all are going to make is going to be typing in y3 probably. I'm going to go to y equals. I'm going to clear out my 2. I asked last class to use calculators to clear things out. I don't know if they did or not, but I asked them to. You need to go to y equals and try typing stuff in, kids. What you need to try to do. I know full cell works so well, some of y'all don't know how to do the fraction. You don't get to sit here and do nothing in my class when you're getting 20% of the benchmark rate. That's a load of crap. Square root, second x squared will bring it up. How do you bring up that fraction thing? Math numb, which is how most of y'all are feeling right now. How do you think I feel repeating the same thing 1,000 times? If you had to tell somebody something over and over and over what to do, how would you talk to them?
I wouldn't talk to him.
You'd yell at them, wouldn't you?
I just wouldn't talk to him.
Sometimes I get like that. Hit math numb, hit the up arrow, like I've shown half dozen times. Reason you can't do it is because you hadn't done it.
For that, instead of doing the math number, you press like the.
You can hit alpha X.
Okay.
I'm not showing you that because when you take your own course test, not all the calculators in this high school can do that. Some of y'all are going to get Miss Cantrell, some of y'all are going to get Miss Carter's, and theirs don't do that. That's why I never showed it to you.
I didn't know if it was different.
I don't know what calculator to get. I can only teach you based on the calculators that you might have on your course test. Does that make any sense? There's lots of things these calculators do that I could show you. I don't, because I don't know what calculator can have using it. If it's mine, it'd be great. Where's the negative key?
That's gonna be right next to the decimal.
Some of y'all are going to hit Zoom 6 in a minute, you're going to get syntax errors because you use the minus key. Back to that again, square root, math, how you feel, up 1, n over d. That's what you have y1 and y2, and how do you zoom? Zoom 6. Well, by the way, on the color coding there, blue is y1, red is y2, black is y3. You see that, right?
Yep.
That's kind of a big deal. Zoom 6. You're going to see the intersection of a line. And what do you call the other figure? It's not a circle.
Rhombus.
That's the oval.
Ellipse. It was an oval in middle school. An ellipse. It's an ellipse. What do you want to go after? Blue and red or blue and black? You want to do blue and black? And don't press enter, enter, enter. Press enter one time. Hit second, trace, what? 5 for intersect. And we're going after blue and black. So you take your cursor and you get it close to blue and black. And you only press enter one time. Because now you got y1, y2, y3. You just press enter once, kids. Not 3 times like you've been accustomed to doing. If you press enter once, everything changed to red because your cursor is in y2. Where was black? y3. You need to press the down arrow to put your cursor where it needs to be. If you're going after blue and black, the cursor has to be in blue and then black. Now you can press enter for the second curve and enter for a guess. And if you can't do this, you just go to YouTube and you type in intersection, 3 functions, TI-84. Somebody will show you a video. You play along with said video. Or you come find me when you can. I mean, I know there was a couple of problems on your benchmark where you could have done y1 and y2. There are going to be several problems on your EOC where you could do y1 and y2. You guys used y1 and y2 on your benchmark, didn't you? You're supposed to. That's why I teach it all stinking year. So that was blue and black. What's left to do? Blue and red. So back to second trace. 5. Get your cursor close to blue and red. And then press what? Enter. Pay attention. Did your calculator jump where it needed to? Yeah, if it was blue, you pressed enter, now it's red. You get to press enter. And then enter again. That's the reason they made the color edition, to make stuff like this easier for kids to figure out. There's your other intersection around negative 1.22 and 0.56. Only have 2 answers. That's how you use a graphing calculator. They're not necessarily hard. What's wrong with y'all today? Everybody is zapped of energy.
I feel sick.
I know when we gave the ACT on Tuesday, that whole room was nothing but coughs and sniffles. Is yours the same?
Yeah, no.
My room was coughs and sniffles. Nothing but coughs and sniffles. And then it crashed. I cannot believe they're gonna let y'all finish that test. I cannot believe it. ACT done went liberal. We should chunk that whole thing out. Let's take it again. All right, solve this one by hand. I've got a hint there. It says x squared minus y squared. Sorry, I have my hint there is to solve the second equation for y squared and then substitute that in. Why am I suggesting to solve the second equation for y squared and then plug in? Not because the second equation is easier. Why y squared specifically? Why not solve the second equation for x squared? No. It has nothing to do with the difficulty of solving.
For the top one.
It has something to do with the top one. If you solve the second equation for y squared and plug in, the top equation becomes nothing but what? X's. That's why the suggestion is made. You have to think about your next step. The reason I do that is so that the first equation has only one unknown. If I give you an equation with two unknowns, can you do anything with it? You play isolation games, that's it. You can't solve, you can't figure out what something is. One equation, one unknown. It's always been that way. Always will be. There's no getting around that, unless you just have a really good mind. Algebra was created so that the average person can do math, not the really special ones that come across every 10, 15 years. They're the ones who made it so that everybody could do math. So to solve this thing for y squared, what are you going to do with that thing? I would just do that. That fixes signs and everything. Now everywhere you see a y squared, what does she become? X squared minus 16. Again, I'm taking that and putting it right there. That's 9x squared plus an x squared minus a 16 minus a 90x plus a 216 still equal to a 0. Somebody taught you guys how to add like terms. Oh, there's a few kids that can't add like terms. It's crazy. Jordan, get off your watch. By like terms, how many x squared you got? How much x? And what's the constant? 200. What might make your life easier? Pull the 10. It is division. I say pull, it's division. Just never divide it out. What's left inside? You need to start writing. Your performance on your benchmark suggests you're going to be one of those stupid kids in the ball on the BLC. So start writing. I try to be nice about that crap. And a single math teacher in the world will say, you don't need to show any work. Every one of them will say, show your work. The reason you did that step is because it's hard to figure out factors of 10 and 200 rearranged to add to negative 90. But it's easy to figure out factors of 20 to add to negative 9, isn't it? That's why we do these things. We don't do it because it's hard, we do it because it makes it easy. We do it because we're lazy. That's why we do it. A lot of y'all think we do this to make it harder. No. It's about easiness. What are factors of 20 that add to negative 9? 4 and negative 5, and then the x and the x. Make the x squared. What are your two x values? Your two x values are 4 and 5. Are you done? No. Order pairs. It's all about order pairs. What do you gotta do with these x values? Plug them in. You got a nice little equation right there to plug into. You feed that equation x, it'll give you y's back in return. So I'll do the easy one first. 4 squared minus 16 is y squared. That says y squared is 0. What's that make your y value? Don't say plus or minus 0. It doesn't make any sense. So when x was 4, I got y 0's return. Time to plug in a 5 and see what happens. So if you do 5 squared minus 16 is y squared. What did I say y squared is? Y squared is 9. Thank you, Chris. You saw the 2 there. What's that 2 mean again? 2 answers. It's always meant 2 answers. Always will be 2 answers. This is where you have to include your plus or minus symbol. That's right, Santa Claus. Plus or minus 3. So it turns out there's 2 order pairs created. Doesn't it? When the x value was 5, you got to be 3 or you got to be negative 3. This thing has 3 answers. That's not uncommon. You're dealing with the equation of, I think, a hyperbola. I think the top one's a hyperbola, which is a funny looking graph that opens like this. It's two sideways parabolas. And the second one is either another hyperbola or an ellipse. So you can have up to 4 answers. I'd have to go back and look at them, sit down and do some work. But they're not shapes that you've actually studied yet in math. All right, 2 more. Here's another solved by hand. This one, your TI-84 cannot actually do. I give the TI-84s a lot of credit. They can solve just about anything. But it's about resolution. A TI-84 does not have enough pixels to draw things properly. It's just a little bitty screen, isn't it? It's only got so many pixels. It can't draw everything. If we try to do the Y1, Y2, Y3 thingy on this one, and actually we could go all the way to Y4, I think. No, it'd be Y1, Y2, Y3. What you'd see is you'd see a big chunk of graph just cut off. And if there's an answer there and your calculator couldn't graph it, you can't put your cursor there, can you? So some things are just done by hand, kids. This one has to be done by hand. So to do it by hand, you probably want to play with the second equation. You want to solve it for x squared or y squared? X squared, that's right. Because if you solve it for x squared and plug in, the top equation becomes nothing but y's. All we're doing is thinking ahead. How do you isolate x squared? Move operations. Move, change signs. 1 minus y squared. Wouldn't worry about standard form. It's an intermediate step. I'm not wrong. Does 1 minus y squared look better than negative y squared plus 1? You know it does. You know deep down it does. It looks better. That will go right there where that x squared is. You're also less likely to have a writing mistake if you do it like that. Yeah, you can distribute your negative 2. And if you were to distribute that negative 2, what would you have? Negative 2 plus 2y squared. 2y squared minus 2 plus y plus 2 is 0. What's in balance? Or sorry, not what's in balance, what cancels out? Yeah, your additive inverses. Guess what you can do now? What's the first amendment of mathematics? You can pull it. Why did that kid times 38? I know that commandment. What do you pull from both terms? Well, why? Well, y for both pieces, what's left? 2y plus 1. Then you get to use that zero product property, where I've taken things and covered up. If you cover up the first factor, 2y plus 1 is 0. What's the y value? Y is negative 1/2. If you cover up the bigger factor, what's it legit say y is? 0. We should not be struggling with that property, but man, these little basic quizzes say y'all do. I don't get it. I'm assuming it's don't care. It's not can't do, it's won't do. Anyways, there's your 2y values. What are you doing? Plug them in. Figure out what the x values are. So, I've got that nice equation, says x squared is 1 minus y squared. So x squared is 1 minus a half squared. Does it matter? I know it was. I wrote positive half for a reason. Does it matter? You square a negative, what's it become? I even taught you guys the quadratic formula that way. Didn't I? You're going to square a number. Who gives a rat's rear end what its sign is? It's positive. What's a half squared? Fourth. What's 1 minus quarter? 3/4. Now, when you take the square root of a fraction, you don't do it in TI-84. You do it piece by piece. A lot of kids don't do this. When you view a fraction, you're supposed to take root top, root bottom. By the way, how many answers? 2. Either plus or minus. Can you take the root of 3? No. Plus minus root 3, root 4, 2. So when y was negative half, how many x values you generated? 2. So you got 2 order pairs from that one. You got positive root 3 over 2. And you got negative root 3 over 2. Are you done?
No.
Don't you wish you were? Well, that's why you'll never be an engineer or architect. That's why. Everybody always wants to be something. A lot of kids want to be something like an engineer or an architect. And then they see math and they say, I changed my mind. I was really into computers, so I went into computer science. And I did that for a long time, and I decided I was tired of sitting on a computer. Well, I like it here. Wasn't a whole lot I could do and stay here. I like it here. We still got to plug in a what? That's easy. X squared is 1 minus a 0 squared. X squared is 1. X is plus or minus 1. That's why I teach math. I didn't want to leave here. I like it here. So, you got 2 more answers. You got a plus 1 and a minus 1 for x, and they both happen when y was. So this thing had 4 intersections. And I guess we won't get to do the last example, will we? What's your mouth? It's better. Chris, have you had a pink slip this year? Do you want one?